Hey everyone, it's Chris and I'm back with another video. Today I am drawing in only red. Only red. Over the years, just from drawing for so long, you end up accumulating a huge supply of art supplies, huge amount of art supplies, and I've been seeing a challenge where pretty much everybody just goes and takes all the supplies, all the red art supplies, all the blue art supplies, or whatever color they pick, and only use that color. So I thought it'd be interesting to go ahead and try and give it a shot. To challenge myself, I didn't use any references. I kind of just went straight from the head and just tried to pick a character, make a character that would be nice to draw in red. It has to match the mood. When I think of red, I think of anger. I think of sheer rage. No, but when I think of red, you think of anger. So I wanted to go ahead and draw a character that was just in full rage mode. When I was drawing this person, I was thinking of Brawly from Dragon Ball, and I kind of wanted to position him in a way where his hands were in the air and he's kind of just levitating off the ground and he's just going up full power mode. And this was outlined in Prismacolor pencil. No, the first one I used was just a red color pencil that had an eraser at the end of it. Setting it up, I wanted to be able to erase a little bit, so of course I used that. Then afterwards I went in with a red outliner to kind of ink it in a little bit. The tricky part about doing this is you're only using red, so there's still a need to have different tones that contrast, so you have different lights and different dark reds, and you have to kind of position it in a way to balance it a little bit, because if you're just using light reds, it's gonna be difficult to differentiate where the different reds that you're using. It's if you're using light red, if you're using like a Crimson Lake or a Crimson Red or a Scarlet Lake, those are pretty much dark reds. You can't use them in the same spot because no one's going to be able to tell that they're different reds because they're both dark reds. So that was hard for me. Even when I'm going in and outlining it, each time I'm kind of taking my hand off, I'm switching color pencils, but it's pretty difficult to even tell because the tones are so similar. Once I got the outline done, I was just going in and adding details, figuring out how to just make him look a little bit cooler than he does. So I kind of gave him like almost a tribal kind of look. He has like little necklace kind of thing on his shirt, and he has like a bush cape, like the animal furs that they wear on their backs. And he's kind of fit, and he's just enraged, and he's kind of levitating. This was overall really fun to do because I'm just pretty much freehanding, just coming out of my head with different ideas, different details to add to the picture. And when you do that, you kind of have to explore different paths to take with the picture. So I was really just adding stuff randomly and just trying to use every single color that I had. And the picture, I actually kind of gave up on it at first, but I just kept sticking with it, and eventually it kind of flowed a little bit better. So then I just decided to continue. Once I pretty much had everything outlined, I had used up probably like a good 12 color pencils. So every time I used a color, I put it to the left of the drawing, and then I went in with marker and just kind of added a bit of the shadows and a bit more color to the picture. The difficult part was also figuring out how to use the two different mediums, using color pencil and using marker, and getting them to mesh really well. I found that with the markers, it's a lot easier to tell the difference between different reds when it came to the markers opposed to the color pencils. And maybe that's because, I guess, the alcohol-based markers are laying down a lot smoother and filling up the paper a bit more differently than lead is, the lead from the color pencils. So once I had, just basic colors, basic shadows down, I just kept building and building onto the picture, trying to make sure that you differentiate you space out the different lights and the different darks. And it was really cool to just layer red on top of red on top of red on top of red. So that was also pretty fun. A lot of times when you're drawing, especially from a reference, you have to focus and really think really hard and make sure all the details come together. With this, it was pretty relaxed. It's pretty chill. I was just watching TV in the background and laying down different details to the picture, and it was all flowing really nicely. And eventually I got into a nice little vibe, and it just felt pretty comfortable doing the picture. And the only parts I really had to think was like when it came to certain things that I'm not good at drawing. So I'd say the legs are probably the things that I struggle with the most when it comes to drawing. And that's really because of the definition in the legs, like the muscle fibers and the little bulges, the calf muscles and how they stick out, and then the thigh muscles, and that can be pretty difficult, especially depending on the build, how much bulk the person has. But I didn't want to make him too bulky. Usually when I'm drawing characters, they have a lot of muscle on them. Didn't want to make this one too bulky. Decided to just kind of focus on making him a fit, like athletic kind of build. And yeah, so going in with the marker, of course I had to go and layer it with color pencils when it came to the pants, so that was pretty cool. But after a while, it's just so much red that you really don't need to use this much red, especially because a lot of the colors are so similar. So at one point towards the end of the drawing, I'm just like drawing it to use all of the reds that I have to be honest, all the while kind of just trying to make sure that I'm still doing it in a creative way. This was I try to just go on my sketchbook and draw from my head just on a daily basis, because you gotta flex that kind of, your brain. You gotta flex the muscles, your art muscles, and really just think outside of the box a little bit and think from your imagination and kind of pull from that. And I guess this is just another way to do that, just in a different way. But just going in and sketching, it can be really relaxing. If you're really stressed out, you're dealing with something, it's always nice to just go in your sketchbook and not necessarily have a goal that you're not trying to necessarily make a certain picture or make it look a certain way, but you're just trying to draw what's in your head at the time and really just let it flow. Just let the pen, just let it all go and have it slowly just empty out onto the paper, and you what you're feeling empties out onto the paper a little bit. And going in with no expectations is good, because it allows you, I guess, to be a bit more flexible, for me at least. So I'll just go and I'll draw. I'm not even thinking of drawing a certain thing, just whatever comes to my mind at the time, I'll go and I'll lay it down on paper. And this makes me a lot more comfortable, especially because I'm usually drawing a reference. I'm looking at a photo and trying to just figure out how each of the details come together, and you know, how much space is in between this, how much space is in between his eyes and his mouth and his nose. So just going in and just drawing and not even having to think about it too much is really relaxing. And in the end, the picture came out pretty well. So I think it makes it easier to use other colors, because this is a lot more challenging, just trying to use different tones of red. It gives you a certain level of awareness, I find it. But there is times where it's just kind of like getting repetitive, because again, all of the reds are not that different from each other, but you still want to put them in places to where they stand out a little bit. But overall, I think the picture came out pretty well. In the end, I wanted to go and add some boulders around him, just kind of, I guess, like they're floating off of the ground because of the energy he's emitting. I guess it's like a Dragon Ball Z thing. So I put a couple of boulders in the background, outlined it with a color pencil, and then I went in with marker and then I colored it in a little bit. But I mean, that's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.